$100. Right now, in your life, that's probably 2 takeout orders. Maybe a pair of shoes you didn't need. Gone in a weekend, barely remembered by Monday. Now I want you to sit with a number for a second. And from what I've observed, this seems to be happening. If you took that same $100 just once a month, nothing dramatic, and did it for 10 years straight, you would not end up with $12,000. You'd end up with something closer to double that, maybe more, depending on where that money lived. And I don't think most people are angry about not knowing this. I think they're angry nobody showed them the actual shape of it. Not in theory, but in real, slow motion, year by year. So that's what we're doing today. No hype, no get-rich nonsense. Just what genuinely happens, dollar by dollar, when small money is given 10 years and left alone. Stick with me until the end, because year 7 is where this stops looking like saving and starts looking like something else entirely. Here's the confession most people never make. A lot of us have tried to invest before. We opened the app, put in $50 or $100, checked it 3 days later, like it was a scratch-off ticket, saw barely any movement, got bored, stopped. That's not a personal failure. That's just what happens when you judge a 10-year process by a 3-day glance. Small monthly investing doesn't reward impatience. It punishes it, gently but consistently, by looking completely uneventful for longer than feels comfortable. Which is exactly why most people quit right before the interesting part even starts. So if that's you, if you've tried this before and walked away feeling like it didn't work, I want you to know the math was never broken. The timeline just got cut short. And today, we're going to walk the whole timeline, so you can actually see where the boring part ends. Let's start exactly where most people give up, year 1 and year 2. After 12 months of putting in $100 a month, you've contributed $1,200. With average market growth, you might have something like $1,250. Maybe less, if the market dipped that year. It genuinely can look like nothing happened. By year 2, you've put in $2,400 total, and your account might sit around $2,600. Still feels small. Still feels like maybe this isn't worth the effort. Here's the part almost nobody explains though. This isn't the investment failing to work. This is the investment building its foundation. In these early years, almost all of your growth comes from you. Your own consistency is doing 90% of the heavy lifting. The money itself hasn't started pulling its own weight yet. Most people quit exactly here, at the least visually rewarding stage, right before the machine actually starts running on its own. Somewhere around year 3 or 4, something subtle starts happening, and it's easy to miss if you're not paying attention. Your contributions are still just $100 a month, same as day 1. But now, the growth on your existing balance starts contributing almost as much as your own deposits do. Your money starts, for the first time, doing part of the work alongside you. By year 5, you've personally put in $6,000, but your account is likely sitting closer to $7,500, maybe more. That extra $1,500? You didn't work for that. You didn't sacrifice a single dinner out for it. It simply grew, quietly, in the background of your actual life, while you were doing completely unrelated things, going to work, raising kids, arguing about whose turn it was to do the dishes. This is the point where investing stops feeling like sacrifice and starts feeling like a second, silent income source that never clocks out. Quick pause. If you've never actually seen the year-by-year breakdown of small investing like this, hit like right now. And drop a comment telling me what year you'd personally give up by. I'm curious how honest people are willing to be. By year 7, this is where it stops being subtle. You've contributed $8,400 of your own money over those 7 years. But depending on market performance, your account could realistically be sitting somewhere between $11,000 and $12,000. That gap between what you put in and what you now have, that gap is bigger than your entire first year of contributions combined. Let that actually land. The growth generated in year 7 alone can rival everything you contributed in year 1 and 2 put together. This is what people mean when they talk about compounding, but nobody ever shows you the actual moment it becomes visible. It's not a dramatic explosion, it's a slow tilt, where the graph stops looking like a straight line and starts curving upward on its own, almost like the money finally understood the assignment. And this is exactly why year 7 is the moment I mentioned at the start. It's not the finish line. It's the point where quitting would genuinely be the most expensive mistake in the entire process, because you'd be walking away right as the machine finally starts running by itself. Now we arrive at year 10, the number I opened this video with. $12,000 contributed. Your own money, $100 at a time, month after month, for a decade. No lump sums, no inheritance. No lucky break. And depending on how the market behaved across those 10 years, your account could realistically land somewhere between $20,000 and $24,000. In some stronger stretches, even more than that. That means, in the most literal sense possible, your money worked as hard as you did, and in the final few years, arguably harder. You contributed half of the final total. Growth quietly contributed the other half without asking you for a single extra dollar. Hi, my name is Alpha, and this is genuinely one of my favorite things to show people here at Alpha Invest. Not because the number is huge, it isn't, but because it proves the mechanism works even at a size almost anyone can actually do. This isn't a story about getting rich, it's proof that the process itself is real, at a scale small enough that the excuse of, "I don't have enough money to start," quietly stops holding up. But here's the part that actually changes how people think, and it has nothing to do with the $20-something thousand. It's this: the version of you starting today, at whatever age you are right now, is the youngest version of you that will ever get to start. Every month you wait isn't a neutral delay. It's a quiet trade, trading away one of the highest growth years this money will ever get, for the comfort of starting later when things settle down. Things rarely settle down. That's not pessimism, that's just how life tends to behave. So the real turning point isn't the 10-year number at all. It's realizing that the first year, the boring one, the one where nothing seems to happen, is actually the most valuable year in the entire decade, because it's the only one compounding for the full 10 years. Skip it, and you don't just lose a year, you lose the year that mattered most. I'm not going to tell you to find an extra $1,000 a month or live off rice and beans for a decade. This isn't that kind of video. Start with an amount that genuinely doesn't hurt. If $100 feels tight right now, $50 is still real. $25 is still real. The amount matters far less than people assume. The habit of showing up every single month is what actually builds the outcome. Automate it if you can, so the decision only has to be made once instead of every single month. Willpower is unreliable. A system isn't. Expect the first 2 years to feel like nothing is happening, because that's not a warning sign. That's just what year 1 and 2 of this process always look like, for everyone, without exception. And resist the urge to check it daily. This isn't a scratch-off ticket, it's a tree. You don't dig up a tree every week to see if the roots are working. So if $100 a month feels too small to matter right now, I hope you can see it a little differently after this. It's not about the size of the number today, it's about giving that number enough time to become something you couldn't have built any other way. Not through a bigger salary, not through a lucky break, just through years quietly doing what years do. You don't need to have this figured out perfectly. You don't need the ideal amount, or the ideal moment, or the ideal market conditions. You just need to start before you feel ready, because ready rarely arrives on its own schedule. If this changed how you see small, consistent investing, hit like, tell me in the comments what amount you'd realistically start with this month, and subscribe, because next time, I'm breaking down what happens if you don't just hold steady at $100, but slowly increase it every single year, and that number gets a lot harder to ignore. I'll see you in the next one.